Hi, Gareth here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to draw with your Hake brush. So we're going to draw figures and also boats and cars. Now these objects make your paintings much more interesting, so it's really good if you can paint them. So here we go. Let's begin with figures first of all. Now I did all of these figures using a Hake brush, so let's have a go and I'll show you how to do it. So I'm using just one brush and one colour, and here we go. So first of all I'm going to do a man. Sometimes good to have tissue to get rid of excess water. I'm going to do a man with a hat like this, and then the top bit, and then like this, and then I'm going to do his shoulders like that, then come down, and then one arm like this, and another arm, and then if you like, suggestion of a hand, just use the corner of your brush and the corner here, and then dry the brush a lot, and we'll do dry brush legs just quickly like that, and then another one. And there you go, a figure. Not so great, so we'll have another go. It's a good idea to have scrap paper. I have scrap paper and I practice first getting the strokes right on the scrap paper, and then when I'm happy with it I'll have a go at doing the figure. So there's the body. Here we go again. One arm, two arms, hand, and then one leg, two legs. And maybe put a shadow underneath like that. So that's one figure. Now let's do another one. Now let's do this man with a stick, a walking stick. So first of all, give him a hat. I do recommend using hats on figures. Then a head. Then this body. Now I went too far there, but I could quickly brush it off with tissue, but we'll go with it. Then one arm, and then another arm here. Okay, and then use the corner of the brush, and here too. And then do these legs. One, two. And then really dry this brush out. Get it very flat like that. And then we're going to try and do a walking stick. Yeah, that will do. And then give the figure a bit of a shadow. So maybe a shadow going behind him, like that. So I know these are very, very simple figures, not great, but I think it's a good introduction to painting a difficult subject, and in a very easy way. I mean, not so difficult, right? Now we're going to have another go, and this time we're going to do a woman, and we're going to do her from behind. So I get the brush, the hairs close together like that, and then I'm going to do her hair like that. Now that's a bit bigger than I intended, which is no problem here, but if I was painting on a picture and I had done her too big, then that would be a serious problem, and I'd have to quickly wipe her out with tissue paper. And if you're very quick with the tissue paper, it's surprising how much you can remove, but you have to be quick. There's her arm, and then let's do her legs. 1 and 2. Make them a bit thicker. So again, not lovely legs, but and then use the corner of the brush, but good enough to begin with. And that looks pretty okay. Maybe make this a bit like that. You can play around with this, and it's a good idea until you get the kind of shape you want. And even if it goes wrong, it's okay because you're learning. And then let's have a long shadow here. It's really good to do these figures with shadows, because in the final painting they're probably going to have shadows, and so the sooner you can practice doing shadows, the better. And shadows really make a painting exciting, in my opinion. And there we go, a long shadow. Maybe this would be like an evening or morning kind of scene. So now we're going to do something really difficult, a figure on a bicycle. But I just want to show you what you can do even with one thick brush like this. So there we go, the head, then the body. So just like that, very simple, just a rectangle. Then 2 arms, sticky arms. Handlebars. I'm very sorry, my ears are clicking because every year I get a cold, and I can't seem to do anything about it. And then let's do the legs, bending legs like that, and like that. So he's looking pretty good. His head is sadly too big, but it's good enough. And then let's do this bicycle with a basket like that. So using the very tip of the brush, and then here the pedal bit, and then here the tire. Ooh, bit too wide and not long enough. Yeah, that didn't work so well, but it's not exactly the right brush, but it's good enough, and we can do a shadow underneath like that. Very simple. Okay, and then let's do a figure from the side, maybe pedestrian walking across the street. So let's begin with the head. There we go. just basically a rectangle, and then a little necky thing, and then almost another rectangle with a bit of a curve in it, and then an arm here and one arm behind. Make his neck a bit thicker, and then let's go for a quick brush stroke. Here we go. Wow, well that's a super leg, isn't it? He's got baggy trousers. So there you go, very baggy trousers. But I think we can almost get away with that. And then quite a fat shadow. Too fat, but you get the idea. And then let's give him a hand and another hand using the corner of the brush. Shall we have another go? But those trousers actually work, I think. That actually looks quite good. You notice how if you add a curve, it really gives it a much more natural feel. So that's very important. And don't be too hard on yourself if at first your figures really look terrible. It's one of the most difficult things to do, but also one of the most important. And I think even professional artists struggle with making good looking figures in their paintings. It's not an easy thing to do. And let's go for the final bit. I'm going to use the thin part of the brush this time. Big step forward. Ta-da! Now that was perfect. And then maybe here, his other leg is here like that. Like that. And then a bit of a shadow. And it really is good to practice like this on a piece of scrap paper, because as you can imagine, if you do a beautiful painting, a nice background and nice foreground, and then you go to add a figure and it's wrong, you will be so furious with yourself. So the more you can practice doing figures like this, then the better. And it will really make your paintings look lovely. So I hope that was useful. Please have a go. So next we're going to do cars. So as you can see, I've done this on top of another painting, and I recommend don't throw your watercolor paper or painting, sorry, away if you're unhappy with them. First of all, do some practice painting on top of them, of figures and cars and boats, or if you have an idea, or even practice painting trees. And it doesn't matter what you've painted, because you can use black and you'll see the results of your doodles and sketches even on top of another painting, and it just saves you a bit of money. And also you feel quite liberated when you paint on a failed painting, because you're quite happy to throw it away. And often in those situations you paint much better than normal. So here we're going to paint a car. So first of all, we're going to do head on. Okay, so normally with cars, the windscreens can be the darkest part or the most reflective. Sometimes they're a combination of both, but that's a bit difficult to do today. So what we're going to do is dark. So I've loaded this up with paint, as you can see, and just a slight curve like that. And that's it. And then here, the mirrors, the side mirrors. And then I water my, well, I get some watery paint. There we go. And now I'm going to do this bit in the middle. And you don't have to, but I'm going to leave some whites here for where the lights are. I quite like that. And that's basically it. Let's just add some wheels. And just like this. And look, it looks pretty good, doesn't it? No more problem with cars, at least head-on cars. And then let's do a shadow here. So that would be like a normal shadow. But if the sun's coming from this direction, then it's going to get longer. Yeah? And if you have very long shadows, then the outer part of the shadow becomes much lighter, fainter. So you can see that I've watered this, and that's how the shadow goes. It's very dark here and much lighter here. So looks like a nice car, doesn't it? So now let's do a car from an angle. So once again, we've got the front part, but this time needs an angle like that to the glass. This part has more of an angle than this part. And then the side bit, and it could be just a little or it could be really long. So I'll do both for you. So that's just a little. But if we've got a real strong side view of the car, then that's going to be much longer like that. And then let's do the body. It's almost a straight line, almost. So here we go, light here. Yep. And then here, like that. And there you go, side on. And it's nice if you do even less of the side. It looks very interesting. Those sharp angles can be really, really good. But this one, we've got quite a lot more side of the car. And if it looks a bit too contrasting, you can always mix them together a bit like that. Doesn't really matter. And if you let it dry a bit, you can scrape a line across with your fingernail. Then let's do the tyres. Now the tyres become more difficult when we have an angle. So here, they're not going to be so wide. But over here, they're going to be much wider like that. So it does take practice to know about this, but not too much perhaps. And let's repeat that down here. So first of all, begin with these. Then slightly thicker there. And then much wider here. Okay, and then let's do a shadow. And let's have a shadow coming in front of the car, like that. So you connect them all together. And then let's water that down a bit. I mean, it's amazing what you can do with one brush, and a big flat brush as well. There. And as you can see, the more you do this, you're going to get really, really good at painting vehicles. The wheels are not so good on this one, but you can get away with a lot, especially once you add the shadow. And here, what kind of shadow shall we have? Maybe at an angle, coming out like this. Cars have really, really amazing shadows in the evening time. I really like painting cars. They're very interesting objects. Okay, there we go. That's still a bit wet, so I can't use my fingernail yet. Maybe here, shall we try? Doesn't always work. Yeah, it's okay. And let's do one from the back at an angle. So here we go, over here. And that's the back window, and then we've got a little bit of a side window here. And like that. I'm giving it a bit of an angle. Cars do have a bit of a dynamic shape to them. And the more you can show that, the better. Now, I haven't bothered with the red lights here, well, to show where the lights are. Okay, let's do the wheels. Here we go. Ooh. I'm sorry about the mistake there. Suddenly my timer went off. Things are conspiring against me today, but I'm persevering. So those wheels are a bit too long, but you can soon shorten them either by making the body deeper, or like this, go down more, or by the shadow. There we go. Let's just see. You can always dry your brush and then just go over the end bit to make it a bit fainter. It's quite a nice touch. And I left this too long maybe. Oh, maybe not. So it's not too bad, but you get this smudgy effect that you don't always want. So, and let's see if we can do, yeah, nope, license plate. I always recommend you try using your fingernail. It doesn't always work, but can be interesting. So there you go, a car head on, then at a slight angle, then a wider angle, and then a car from the back. So please have a go and let me know how you get on. And have fun with these shadows, yeah? Be brave. Okay, so the next thing we're going to paint with one brush is boats. So this is a Japanese boat, and it's a very long boat, and I really like the style of this boat. And we're going to do it from different angles. So here we go. So first of all, I'm going to do the boat head on. Well, not 100% head on, because that's a bit boring. I strongly recommend most of the time that you never paint anything directly head on or directly sideways. Having an angle on an object always makes it look more interesting. Please remember that. So this is the front of the boat, and then we've got this V shape with a slight curve in it, and then this is the difficult bit, this curve of the side. Like that. Now I have done that a bit wrong. This needs to be shorter, this curve, and this curve needs to be longer. So I'm going to correct it like that. And that perhaps is too extreme, but we'll continue with it because sometimes it's not as bad as you think. That's passable. And then for thin lines, dry your brush out a lot. And then here we go. Yep. And then up here, this object, whatever it is. So I used a corner here, and then we are going to have our figure. In fact, this really needs to be a bit longer, I think. So I'm extending that. It's really good to play with these objects, even if you go wrong, because you will learn a lot in the process. Do his head. Have to be careful not to give him too big a head. Ooh. Yeah, that will do. And then reflection in the water. So I like to do a line like that, and then we can just roughly, very roughly, do the reflection and then zigzag. Just zigzag. Feels like cheating, but looks okay. And we can add some really thick paint and make this a bit darker if we like. Like that. It's all good practice. And then wash out our brush and dry it. Use tissue. I really want it dry. Yeah, hope this isn't tissue I use for my nose. Goodness me. I don't think so. And here we go. A completely clean brush and sweep across like this. Sweep across. And you pick up paint, so you have to keep removing the water on the brush, and like that. You can't really see it, but sometimes it, in this case, but sometimes it looks really wonderful. I strongly recommend doing that. Yeah, you can start to see it there. The paper's still too wet. But like that. And then let's do a boat from the side. So what I'm going to do is looking at the back of the boat. So they have this bit going across at the back. It's a little bit that sticks out. And then you've got this bottom bit. And then we've got this side bit like this. Just this curve. These curves really make boats very beautiful shapes, don't they? And then across like that. Okay, like that. And then we're going to do inside. There's a curve on the other side. And then here we've got the bit where the captain goes, or the sailor, or the fisherman. I dried the brush there because I'm doing some thin lines. Of course, in future courses, when we use more brushes, I'll show you how to do these with a rigger brush or a liner brush, which is very, very thin. But I think it's good practice, especially as a beginner, just to be able to paint a boat quite accurately with just one thick brush. That's brilliant. And then we have these posts. There's a post here, there's a post here, there's a post here. Now I know you're supposed to copy objects faithfully, or there's a feeling that you should, and I don't. Went a bit wrong with that. It's easy to go wrong with a big brush, so if you do, don't worry about it. There we go, good enough. But I honestly think now, after maybe 20 years of painting, that people who try to paint objects too accurately, they're missing out on what it's all about, which is making a beautiful object. So sometimes exaggerating objects like cars and figures and things like that is actually, in my opinion, quite a good thing, and it's also a lot of fun. You have to remember that at the end of the day, it's not really real, it's just an abstract representation. Sounds a bit technical, doesn't it? It's just an abstract representation of something, and that means that the more you can see this as an abstract shape, the more you can paint something that's really exciting, and the more you can understand what art or painting is really about, which is actually not accurately representing an object, but just making things that look really, really good and really interesting. So that's an advanced tip, I would say, but I think the sooner you know that, the better, and the more fun you're going to have. So there we go, that worked out fairly well actually. I'm quite surprised. Yeah, doesn't matter how often you paint these things, it's so easy for it to go wrong. And I do this even though it's probably not accurate. Again, like I said, you're painting abstract shapes, so what I tend to do is give a little line here. I mean, that might be, you could say, a reflection, but I just think it helps to kind of help this to fit into the paper and not look just stuck on. So you really need to think about that a lot. You don't want things to look like they've just been stuck on, but that they really naturally seem to merge into the paper or the scene. That's very, very important. I hope that makes sense. If not, apologies. So I've watered my brush again, or I've dipped it in lots of water, wiped it, removed excess paint, and now I'm going to go over this again and create some little light ripples, but it's probably still too wet. Yeah, but that's what I would normally do. If I have time, I'll come back and do that. Now you don't have to do this at this stage really, because we've got a good looking boat, but you might want to just do that aerial thing, whatever it is. I guess it's an aerial, but then again it's got lights on it, hasn't it too? Using the corner of the brush very carefully there. It's good enough, it's just a suggestion. And then, so we've done mostly the front with a bit of side. We've done from the back. As you can imagine, this would be lovely, because what you could do is you could have this boat going into the harbour. So when this had dried, you could have here, you know, like much fainter, but some kind of bay or harbour here that the boat is going to. Have to be very careful that these don't touch because it's still wet, but I just want to give you the idea. And here, of course, you can have the boat coming out of the harbour, so there we can have a bit of background there like that. And just with that, you've got an image now, you've got a lovely scene. And we could just do a few ripples here near the front of the painting, and we've got so quickly a lovely little scene. As you can probably guess, I love painting boats. Maybe I love painting everything. And then we'll do a boat coming towards us like this, but showing a lot more of the side. So let's have a go at that. So how are we going to do that then? So this is going to be the front. And this time we're going to show a lot of the side. So I think that's quite a lot. And then brush across at the bottom. They really are an amazing shape, these boats. Yeah. So it's basically like that, but I'm showing more of the side here, like that. And let's do, I want to call this the cockpit. If this is actually called the cockpit, then I'm going to be very, very surprised. I don't think it is it? There we go. That was a bit too much, but it's okay. And then some little figure there. Ooh, big head. There we go. And we can even have somebody here. By the side of the boat. Inside, of course. So, let's do our reflection. So I'm just looking at this as a shape, and I'm just copying that shape. And then I'm doing my zigzaggy thing a bit. And then my little thin line there that makes it kind of sink into the paper, into the background, which is so important. Oh, we need a line there. Yeah, like that. And over here we could add some rocks, you know. Here's a big rock, and then another rock, then one here, a few reflections, and we could even darken that there. Shall we do that? Just have a bit of fun. But you can see how just these little doodle things, sometimes I've done doodles and they've led to fantastic paintings. I think the reason is because everything's so concentrated, or how do I explain that? Not sure how to explain it, but basically doodles can lead to fantastic paintings, really, really fantastic paintings. So don't think you're wasting your time doing this. It really is useful. And then shall we have a bird here? And then another one maybe here. Bit too big, but we're having fun. And then even over here we could have some background, right? And maybe that's a bit too strong, so let's go over that again with our watered brush or with our brush that's been washed and dried and pigment taken out. And there we go. And then here, maybe just a few ripples like that. I'm finished. Let's see if we can do those light ripples. So again, watering my brush, drying my brush, very important. I'm glad you can see all of this. And then let's go across. A bit too late. Timing is everything in watercolor painting. Maybe a little. And with these rocks, a bit of fingernailing. So, like that. And finished. So, I hope that was useful. We learned how to draw with our brush, and we learned how to draw figures, cars and boats. And it's so important to be able to draw those things or paint those things, because they are often the focal point of your painting, the thing that you want people to look at. And often they're the most dynamic and exciting part of the painting. And so they have to be done well. And the more you can practice on scrap paper on top of failed paintings, then when you come to do your final painting, the more chance you have of success. So please have a go and happy painting. Bye.